Hello and welcome everyone. It's Amanda Newworth again, and I have a special guest. But just before we move on to special guest, I just want to do acknowledgement to country. So we respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we stand. I acknowledge the Bundjalung people and pay respects to elders both past, present, and emerging, and I thank them. And let's welcome Ted Mahr again. Aren't we so fortunate that Ted would like to spend more time with us over here in Australia? How have you been, Ted? What's new?
I've been okay. I've been a little frustrated because it's tough up here. I live in a blue state, a democratic state, and on the West Coast. And our governor, this is just a joke, but he thinks he's Adolf Hitler, and he has all these mandates, no legal authority. It's hard to deal with, but such as life is, and it is what it is. What can I say? But I know none of it's going to be successful. All of it's going to be overturned, and I have lots to say about what's going on Australia now and what I see for the future as well. So we've
had a very big time here in Australia. We've got so much emerging. So I'm going to let you go with all the wonderful things that you've got to say. Thank you, Ted, and welcome.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I've been in touch with the other side since November of 1994. And I do time travel and I go into the future. Typically, I can go into the past too, or present. But I have gone to the future for Australia. And I do see the country having a new government by the end of the year, January next year. And that'll apply not only on the federal level, but for all the states in Australia too. And it's going to reach a point where people won't take it any longer. It's starting now with the truckers in Australia, where they'll be blocking things. Then it's going to move to the military. Actually, the military in Australia tried a coup d'etat. The good ones in the military, there are good ones in the Australian military, and they tried a coup d'etat against the current government, federal government, about a month, 6 weeks ago. And it was found out there's dark cats within the Australian military, but there's a lot of other people within the Australian military who are pretty tired of what's going on, and they have weapons, and they will take action, and they're organizing now. That's all I know. That's all I care to say at this point. But they will exciting. They will back up the people finally as the protests get more and more prevalent, and the current premiers across the different states and the of course in the federal government too, they've lost legitimacy in the eyes of people they're supposed to serve, and people are getting really upset for it. One of the things that's a little easier in the United States is because we have the right to bear arms under the Second Amendment, and many of us are armed, and we're not going to take it anymore. Biden is completely illegitimate. He's a fake president. He's the finest money that the Chinese could buy for, and it's already paying benefits for the Chinese. They got hundreds of billions of dollars of weapons from Afghanistan that Biden didn't. Biden just ordered them, our military out, and there wasn't enough time. There was about 30 or 40,000 Americans, troops, as well as Afghans who worked for the Americans. And now, cynically, Biden even gave the names of the Afghans who worked for the Americans to the Taliban, and the Taliban went out executing these people. So he's done everything, and by moving out so quickly, he left hundreds of billions of dollars of the top state-of-the-art military equipment for the Chinese. Now are going to get that. They're going to probably try to take over Bagram Air Force Base, and the Iranians now have been seen in trucks carting off equipment too. So it fits into what the cabal wants. It's not. He's not acting in our interests, and now he's doing this this whole shot program now for the people who don't want it. That's going to fail as well. And one of the things I see happening, it's going to happen in Australia, unfortunately, too, that many people are going to die this fall, our fall, and into February. What percentage have gone into the program now? What do you
It
think?
is, well, if it's true, which a lot of us don't believe their numbers
Don't
are
know.
true.
Yeah. Don't know. I can tell you what the truth is here.
They just
Go
don't.
ahead.
It
Give
only
me a
depends on
number.
which state, but they're saying about, I think it's 40%, and they want 80%. So,
Okay. Let me ask. Okay, just a minute. It's not 40.
mm,
30. More like 30.
yeah, and that's doubled. And that's doubled. I think it is about 30, and then it just seems a little bit odd, the numbers that they're using. And somebody had some stats that we can't sort of prove, but it was out of a university that it was much lower. And we seem to have a very high percentage of placebo.
Well, you're lucky. You're lucky.
There seems to be.
We have some placebos here, but already 650,000 Americans have died from the program.
That's so much.
Including well over about 400,000 to 450,000 children as young now as 6 and 7 years old have experienced heart attacks and strokes. And of course, to the corrupt companies in this program, that's normal for a 12-year-old young girl to have a heart attack or a stroke. Hey, that's just, it happens every day. And it's just so upsetting what I see, but I think that's going to fail too, because people are going to finally wake up. There are remedies available.
Yeah.
And
which is a question that we had from you. You were lucky to embellish us with your prayers in the last wonderful session that we had together. And we had questions of people who are actually dealing with the shedding. It was just a question of, can you just continually do that prayer? Because I think you said it once, but they maybe have misconstrued it as only doing it once instead of doing it frequently. So what's your response to that? Do it as frequently as you so choose, or?
Yeah, you can do it as frequently as you want. And I'll just repeat it now for people who are just watching us for the first time.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. You count down from 10 to 1. You say 10 and then breathe in and out. 9, breathe in and out. Go all the way down to 1, breathe in and out. And then snap your fingers and say, I command Prime Creator and I command Prime Creation to heal me from the shedding, or if you've gone into the program, from the program. Everyone knows what I'm talking about, so there's no need to use that word. And I am now completely healed, and I know it to be true. And you snap your fingers, and if you want to give it some emphasis again, then count down from 5 to 1. Just say the number 5, breathe in and out. 4, breathe in and out, all the way down to 1. And then for redundancy, you can say, I am now completely healed, and I know it to be true, and snap your fingers. Do that as many times as you want, and you will heal yourself. I've seen it happen actually for people. Now, the program, first off, it's extremely lethal. Everything in it is extremely lethal. And most people, I'm looking for the right words. Most people will pass away within 5 or 6 months. There's a smaller group that'll pass away within 3 hours to 24, 48 hours a week. And if you make it through that, then there's a second group who will most will pass away between 5 and 6 months after the program is administered. If you happen to get through that first initial hurdle, then you'll likely pass away within about 2 years or so, give or take. Now, what these companies have put into the program is to show you how diabolical this is. They put in HIV/AIDS and mad cow disease. So if you do manage to get beyond that 6-month limit, that's what you can look forward to. And the problem I have is that these government ministers and companies, how can they look at people and urge them to become part of this program when I'm sure they know what it's doing to people? Yeah. Yeah.
It's the blood signatures that they all did to join many years ago. It's actually revealing to us here that they do not work for our best interests.
Right.
It's being revealed as clearly as anything that they're part of a special group that
Right.
only serve themselves. The other thing that's in them too is the graphene. That's in every one of them, isn't it?
That's true.
Yeah. So we have people the same as you. It seems to be like carbon copy. I did a little doco on it months and months ago, how it was exactly from the FDA, exactly from CDC, what we had, all the same documents, even reporting of the passing of people. All of it was the same. So it's not like it's a country, Australia is an autonomous country. They've signed up. Now, I saw a very interesting report from, I think it was a Pakistani news report, and they were actually doing an in-depth expose on the contracts between the companies and the governments. And that was the first that I had actually been privy to, perhaps, the incredible audacity of these companies, which, using all the leverage that they could, creating the scarcity of, well, we've only got a certain amount and we'll let you have them if you sign this contract. And one of the conditions was to sell all of you, that company would own all of your offshore assets. It's all these different things. I just went, well, there's something big going on here. And it's only just the start of it, isn't it? It's only just the start.
And military bases, that's what they wanted.
Yes.
In Brazil, they wanted the military. In Argentina,
Yes.
they wanted the military bases.
Yeah.
Now, why would Pfizer want military base? What use would they have then? What, they can take over Brazil? They can take over Argentina? Ask.
Well, with the program, maybe so. And I mean, if you think they're just agents of the forces anyway, those forces, what word are we going to use for that big group of people?
Right. Yeah. The forces. Yeah.
The forces.
Yeah, the forces. Yeah.
The force is with us, but they're the forces. Yeah.
That's right.
So there's each week there's more and more being revealed. We've actually got fantastic, but because we are not an armed country, a big false flag was done. Oh, I think that's a flag, isn't it? Was done on the country for people to put their arms in, hand their arms in. We had big amnesty, and that was a total plan. But I'm so proud of Australians for all the division that they have been trying to create here. When the truckies did their day, not that it flopped, it was what happened in the week before. The Australian people rallied around them, absolutely rallied and united with them. But they didn't really block everything off. They just made a stand, and it was the next morning that the truckies actually were with the people for a couple of hours, and in every town that could possibly do, at our council changes, which are our local government. That's actually what happened. We didn't have that much big blockades or anything. It wasn't, because I think they became privy to the understanding that there was a desire for food shortages by the forces. The forces desired that. They wanted to starve us. And I think the truckies realised that they might have been playing into their hands, and I respect them. But what's happened is this is unity that's going through Australia. The Anzac spirit is rising. Even though the division, we're uniting. It's beautiful. We've got, thousands of people joining groups like the No Discrimination Against Business. My business is open to everybody. On the weekend, stay-at-home orders in Sydney, everyone crowded at the beaches. I mean, there's just all sorts of things going on. People are sick of it. Don't trust any of it, which I think is part of the plan. So it's a big, big time. So we've got court cases going on, really big deal ones, really big. We've got policemen now joining in the fight. We've got a lot
And
going
you'll
on.
have the military join the fight too. But it's quiet. I'm told not to give too many details. I'm getting this from my angels. But there are plans afoot now. There are plans afoot now.
I think that's fair enough too. Another question, Ted. A lot of people ask. I did the decode with Gene Decode for Australia. I did the Australian decode for them, and a lot of people are asking about Pine Gap and whether you could tune in to Pine Gap. I personally pretty much feel the Pine Gap is already cleared. It's not Pine Gap that we're concerned about. It's the complex that reaches 80 kilometers west. So I don't know if you mind tuning in and.
I can zero in. I want to add a newspaper, a story that came on the internet on Telegram. It was a couple months ago in March, and many people don't know about it in Australia. A lot of people here know about it, but not in Australia because of the censorship. And the story was that when Pfizer rolled out its program, I guess it was March, April, they were getting a lot of the Australian Navy to go into the program. And now, let me get an accurate number. About 25% of the Australian Navy now is dead, disabled, unable to work because of the program. And isn't that nice for the Chinese who are planning on attacking Australia in September 2023? And also, your defense minister, who was admitted to the hospital in March of this year after going into the program, he is now dead. But you're not going to hear about that in the news. They may have a clone, I don't know, but the real person is dead. And this fits in with Chinese plans, and actually Chinese plans for the United States as well. Because Biden now, with this program thing he's pushed, he wants all the military in the US also to become the program. And if they do, most of them will die as well. And it's interesting to note that in China and in Russia, they're not having any part of the program, nothing at all. So anyway, but I want to tell you, good times are ahead for your beautiful country and New Zealand as well. The Prime Minister of New Zealand is not human. She or it, he, it's hard because she's transgender, is a reptilian, shapeshifted. It varies from country to country. Sometimes you get a straight out reptilian, like in New Zealand running the country. Others times you get like a human, but they're so heavily, they have so many implants in them that they are no longer human. What happens with the program is that it separates the soul from your body. And when you first go into it, just before if you go into the program, 100% of your soul is attached to your body. And then right after the program, 92% of your soul is attached to your body. Then 78% is attached to your body. Then 50 to 52% of your soul is attached to your body. Then 38% is attached to your body. Then 19%, and then 0. And when you hit 0, you become a zombie. And you don't live very long because your body cannot live without a soul, without attachment to the Supreme Being. Also, this is alien technology from the reptilians. All of your 8 chakras are shut down and your pineal gland is destroyed. So you don't have any tie-in to God. The other thing that's interesting, and I got this message last night, is that your intelligence quotient will be, your IQ will be reduced by about 50% eventually by the program. The reason I say that is because in Canada, fluoride in the water reduces your IQ. And in Canada, they did a study years ago between high school students in Toronto who all drink fluoridated water, and Vancouver, BC, who don't drink fluoridated water at all. And they did an IQ test between the two for college. And the students in high school in Vancouver, British Columbia, scored 20% higher straight across the board on all of the college tests, whereas the ones in Toronto scored 20% below that in Toronto because they have fluoride cutting off their pineal gland. If you destroy the pineal gland, like this program does, my guides are telling me your IQ will drop by eventually drop to about 50%.
Which is amazing, isn't it? Isn't that amazing? Because people relate intellect to the brain, and people like yourself and myself know that it isn't. It's our whole system.
It's our whole system.
It's our whole system, yeah, which is something a lot of people don't get, yeah. So thanks for that.
And you also, people like Beethoven, Mozart, if they'd been part of that program back in the 17th, 18th centuries, they would have never written the music they did. They wouldn't have the creativity, because your love and compassion through your heart chakra is gone. You don't have a chakra system anymore. Nothing. This is a chakra guide that I use, and each one of these defines us as being human. And these are the different chakras. There's the crown chakra, then you go to the throat chakra, the heart chakra, the root chakra, the solar plexus. You take those out, you have no connection to God. You become a robot. You basically like a robot. The other part of it too, it's very interesting that some of the grays that are here, they're 4 foot tall with the big black eyes. They're soulless. They have no tie into God. Some of them are us humans now who've go into the program now, and eventually they become like that many thousands of years later. And the reason why their heads are so big is because they're very cerebral, and they're limited in their evolution. They can go no more than fourth dimension, third, fourth dimension. That's it. Can't go beyond that.
Which is incredible, because the chakra system, because that's my background, is the chakra system. And all the things attached to their astral bodies, et cetera, et cetera. When your system is functioning, it's not a drama about 10th density or 10th dimension. It's just that the density and the thickness down here and the pushing of the intellect to take us out of balance, which is also 440 hertz music and everything shifts us over to left, and it takes us away from our connection. And this is how I started our talk off last week, was about the left and right balance hemispheres. It comes very, very naturally when you work with your chakras. They're processes. They're actually processes, and they get all dirtied up, and you're just stuck in going round and round in circles. When they're cleansed, when they're functioning, when they're spinning properly, connecting with Creator is just not a problem. Not a problem. And psychic is not a problem. It's just all of the abilities that we are meant to have, our basic abilities, sit within that entire mind that I call the true mind.
Right. It is. Yeah, that's right. That's right. They are trying to stop our ascension. It's very clear what they're trying to do. And it ultimately will not work. Now, the Galactic Alliance and the Pleiadians said that they will help children who have been forced into this. I don't know what kind of help it'll take, but they said they will be helping the children. With the adults, it's a bit more tricky because, well, it depends on the country. And whether it's truly a person's free will choice to go into the program, or whether they're forced into it. I don't know. It raises a lot of issues about free will.
It does.
So,
and also we've had such a long program of the programs. The amount of child programs per year that qualify them to go to school, etc., have been running for the last, well, it's now 30 years. I have the privilege to be talking to the one outspoken person here in Australia on Thursday about it. And so I'm wondering if that was a primer I'm feeling that in my heart, I feel as though that was a primer for this program, for them to zombie-like march up with free will.
Sure.
And just march on through the door, because they've already been shutting them down.
The other thing I forgot to add is that there are energetic contracts there are nanobots inside of these in the program, and it tells you to obey the reptilians, to obey government, to stay within the rules. If you get out of the rules, then you'll feel uncomfortable. And my hair sometimes goes where it wants to go. So anyway.
It's okay. We just had a little break. We just came back and we're picking up from where we were.
Yeah. But what I'm going to tell you next is pretty diabolical and pretty evil and insidious. Much worse than anything that Adolf Hitler dreamed about in the 30s, 40s to do. And what it is, this is true for Pfizer. I don't know about Moderna, but I do know this for Pfizer, that they've taken aborted fetal tissue from 12-week-old male babies and put it into their program. Now, you ask yourself, why would they do something like that? Is it to protect us against an unseen threat? No. It's to accomplish something. And the whole goal of the program is to reduce the population. All right. Well, let's say you're a woman and you take the program and you live more than 6 months. It's possible. Some will live maybe 15%. I'm not sure. 10, maybe 20. I don't know. And you do live. Then within a couple of years, you will think that you're a man trapped inside of a woman's body, because the fetal tissue is developing. It'll go into your DNA and chromosomes and change you permanently, and you'll become transgender and lose interest in sex and not have a family. That's the other alternative of the program, and people don't realize that at all. So that's one of the reasons why, on another note, why there's such a huge transgender movement in the United States now, and that's because they force all these kids to get the MMR program. In the MMR program, companies like Pfizer put in the fetal tissue of 12-week-old female babies and 12-week-old male babies. And so it's Russian roulette. Let's say hypothetically, you're a little boy, you get the MMR because the doctor told you to do it, right? So you get it, and you get one of them. Never mind that it caused autism. There's a huge autism increase because of that program. But leaving that issue aside, let's say you somehow manage to get through it and you live, okay? Well, if you're a little boy and you get the fetal tissue from a 12-week-old baby, a female, into your body, within a couple of years, they've documented this, where you will think that you're a woman trapped inside of a man's body and want to become a woman, like Michelle Obama.
Yes.
Or
Jacinda Ardern, or the New Zealand Prime Minister.
Yeah, the New Zealand Prime Minister. Or if you're a girl and you get a little girl baby, a little kid, and you get the program, the MMR thing, and you get the fetal tissue from a 12-week-old male baby, then within a couple of years, you're going to think that you're a woman trapped inside of if you're a female baby, you get the male tissue, you'll think you're a man trapped inside of a woman's body, and try to become a man, change your sex, something. So, and that's one of the reasons why they've targeted, especially women, with this program, so that they won't have children, lose interest in it.
And
they're doing a very good job.
Yeah, when I was looking into the AstraZeneca, I found there was chimpanzee cells and also human kidney cells, embryonic kidney cells, and that's in the AstraZeneca. And as soon as I saw that, I went, they're still doing this same program they've been doing for 30 years, bringing in
it's the same.
Human tissue.
Right. It's the same.
Yeah,
It's
it is the
same,
same. It is the same.
the same they're doing, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I did ask you just a little while ago about Pine Gap. I'm wondering if we. I'm wondering, are you willing to talk about sort of Pine Gap or underground installations?
I can tell you some out of this world things about Pine Gap. It's not.
Oh, Ted, that's why we're talking.
Yeah. It's a facility. Did you hear about this story? It happened about, gosh, let me see. How long ago did it happen? It happened about
15 years ago.
Maybe where they shot a particle beam weapon up into space. And it was at a galactic ship, and the ship turned the beam back, and it destroyed part of the facility, killing them all in that facility. Yeah, that's true.
Which was really exciting, because that technology and that it was almost like a mistake, or one of those situations where they learned something of how to deal with this energy that is underground, etc. And there was meant to be some flash that happened that cleared out quite and took down a lot of the installations, but they got them back up, obviously. But I don't have privy information. I've only heard about it. So
Pine Gap has technology from the reptilians, and that technology is about, I can tell you, it's about 5,000 years ahead of us. However, the technology of the galactics is between 50 and 100,000 years ahead of us. So in a war, the galactics will win. However, the firepower of the reptilians and the negatives is substantial. And when President Eisenhower stupidly signed the agreement with the reptilians for cooperation with them in exchange for their technology so we could fight the Soviets, he agreed that they would be allowed to abduct and study us humans, the whole planet. And that was a big mistake. And he should have known better. But at any rate, it is what it is. What they have done in 22 other star systems is that they've come into a planet like Earth-like planets, and they've offered benefits to the elites. That if you reduce your population by 95% and create a manageable slave-like population that's controlled, and that's what the program does, teaches you, it controls you, reduces your IQ by 50% or more, and you become a robotic slave, and so that they can extract the resources. At the end of that period, when they figure that they've gotten everything they want to get out of this place, including our genetics, they'll blow it up. They'll destroy it. That's what they did after Eisenhower's agreement with them in March of '54, is that they installed a antimatter weapon half the size of a boxcar in the Congo in Africa. And I believe the weapon, let me check. The weapon is still there. It's still active, so they have to be a little careful. That's why they've had to be a little careful with everything they're doing. But the negatives are being driven off the planet slowly but surely. They are.
Yes, it's amazing. I feel as though Pine Gap is clear. It's not the issue. I mean, it is incredible that it's 100 square miles of US territory. So that's part of that whole deal that you're talking about. What I do know on the 3D level is that they were operating drones in Afghanistan from there, and all sorts of ballistic missiles and things like that. It's not the issue. When I was tuning into Mount Zeal, it is like the weirdest place. It's an ET resort. Like, where I didn't feel like it was exactly
it's not human.
No, of light at all. at all. It's like that's where a lot of people have been missing from our beautiful original people, you know, and it's quite disgusting. That is the difficult part, but it's I'm feeling when I tune in, it's getting closed off. It's just like smaller. I don't feel like the technology is allowed to be used that they were using. Out that way. It seems to have changed, and I was having this fantastic conversation with somebody called Mr. 22, and he's from out there, and we're going to do a bit of a report because he's got a lot of experience of living out there on country, and he's got some good little details he's going to say. But we were discussing how the energy of Australia has changed this winter to much better. It's improved. And it was possibly about 3 months ago, I was doing a remote with a friend, and we could see that it was like pyramids, and they had special codes, and the pyramids were creating a matrix, and they were actually slowly, effectively shutting them down. So it's technology that I don't particularly understand, but who was in charge of that were galactics. We have galactics, and we were really surprised that galactics are actually running the show here. There's galactics behind the scene.
Yeah.
Does that resonate, Ted? I'd really like see if you could tune into that, because I don't like getting false reads.
Okay. All right.
That would really.
I'm going to stop the recording just for a second because I want to meditate on it. Okay.
Absolutely.
You were asking about this mountain just west of Pine Gap, about 80 kilometers west, and you were picking up a lot of weird stuff. That's basically a base for the reptilians. They do you have a lot of people abducted or a lot of missing children here in the country?
We have a lot of our original people have. Yeah, I find that very difficult. Yeah, a lot of our original people are taken, our Indigenous people. And yes, we have 30,000 missing children. I think it's only, not all of them go, but a very high percentage of missing children here.
Okay. The reptilians, and they do it here in North America too, in Canada, United States, elsewhere. They love Indigenous peoples because of their genetics. They have pure genetics going back tens of thousands of years. And they use that for their own interbreeding and hybridization programs, where they will create Aborigines from Australia, Indians from North America in their own laboratories, and they'll create them as a slave race for their own experiments. That's why you're getting as many as you do. They do the same thing here too. And what they'll do is that if there's a let's say there's a grave sites, they'll dig up the grave and take the bones out, because they'll take the DNA from the bones and use that to create another Indian or Aborigine. You've seen witch doctors that have a bone and they have a staff. Okay, that's the power of that individual, and they use that. The reptilians use that for their own genetic experiments. Let me see if it's still operating. I know a lot of places are getting shut down. Let's see. It's winding down. There are some left, but they're not. It's not a full-fledged operation like it was.
Yeah.
They'll be gone by December.
Thank you.
By the end of the year, they'll be gone. So.
It feels like that. And when I'm doing my tech look, with the technology that I do have access to have a look at what ops are going on, etc., I can see that they're closing right in on it, which means that it's getting decommissioned. Yeah, so that's pretty exciting. Can you tune into this matrix that I was looking at, and also have we got positive galactics?
Okay, some say that the universe is like a hologram. It is a matrix. And I think they're right, actually. And Star Trek, it was a lot of disclosure from from that, and it there was quite a bit of disclosure on that. And the interesting thing is that they talked about a hologram, and that's basically the same kind of, it's the same kind of thing. Yeah, it's a, it is a it's a matrix. All right, it's like a hologram. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, totally a hologram. And it looks like there was an override that they've been doing down here, you know, through the technologies that they did in exchange with the reptilians, and they were imposing a certain frequency upon the people, but that feels like it's being taken down. And also it really feels like the cleaning up of the skies from all of the nanotech that they were putting in the skies is also reversing as well. So we've had a cooler winter than we ever would have, and things like that. And I think there was a line drawn in the sand after all of those big bushfires.
Well, they tried to burn your country up, didn't they? Yeah. Right.
Yeah, they really did. Yeah. You know, with those directed energy.
There were a lot of light workers all over the world, including myself, which had said prayers for Australia to bring rain, and it did work. Yes. Tremendously. Yeah.
Yes. And it was beautiful because it brought awareness to a lot of Australians that the custodianship is not working. We need to get the knowledge. We need the knowledge and the wisdom from our original people, because they know how to work this place. So so we've had a slow integration of different things, which is just gorgeous, you know, really, really gorgeous. Somebody, I'm just going to shift tack here and just ask, somebody asked, Mr. 22 asked me about if you know very much about CERN, the Hadron Collider. Is it still operating?
That's the one, you mean the CERN collider?
Yeah, that's CERN, yeah.
Yeah, let me see.
No.
They were trying to create a vortex for the reptilians to come into our reality again, and it was shut down. And
we have one in Melbourne, a very small one.
Really?
Yes, very small.
That's the reason. One of the reasons why Melbourne is the most. It's the place with the most police controls of the whole country, because of that. Because it's a hotbed for reptilian activity, and there's lots of underground tunnels too, with lots of children and women too who have been used as slaves.
That's all really beautifully cleaned up. When I was doing the decodes, I was seeing it's so big. There's no distance between under the ocean between the coastline of Melbourne and Tasmania. It is just a great big underworld city down there, and it's incredible, the connection to Antarctica and all of the undersea cities. It's bigger than the land masses here. What's going on underneath? It's huge. And between Australia and New Zealand, it's not just some little sort of train thing. We're talking crazy highways under there.
Oh, wow.
Really big.
Used by the negatives?
Beg your pardon?
Used by the negatives? Yeah, okay.
And I'd say that's why it's taking so long for Australia. It just, and it's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. But they seem to be working quite well with it. And another question for you. So the Hadron's it's closed down. We'll just use that word for it. It's closed down, which is really exciting. Another question that I was given was asked to ask you was about timelines. Now, I'm not really into timelines so much anymore as creating the matrix and hologram, if you know what I mean, because it changes. But timeline-wise, somebody was asking, what do you feel is going to be the thing that is going to wake the Australia people up and New Zealand people up? Is there an event on the line?
Yeah, I did see something. I almost talked about it earlier. What day is it there, by the way?
14th of September.
Month away. give or take a day. It's about a month away, where things are going to come to a head. That's when the military is going to get actively involved. And people who now kind of been grumbling a lot and just put up with it are going to get to the point where they're not going to put up with it anymore. And it's going to reach a crescendo, and everything's going to, the negatives are going to start collapsing. There's going to be, unfortunately, I do see violence perpetrated by the state against its citizens, but it will fail because even their police forces will join the people.
Western Sydney, can you tune into that, because they're in a pressure cooker?
There's a lot of spiritual people there, aren't there?
Yes.
That's why they've hit that place so hard. Yeah, it's within 3 months you'll have a new government, but it's going to be a lot of conflict.
Yeah, we're really, I feel like the spiritual that is here knows that they are pushing, as in the government is pushing everyone like a pressure cooker, so that then they will commit violence just because they've just had enough, which will then bring in the strong arm of the government. And I'm feeling as though the people are wise enough to know that that is what's going on. So it's a bit of a dance, and I'm just sending a lot of light there at the moment. And I really, really wish them all the best, and that we're all thinking of you people in Western Sydney. We know you're in a pressure cooker. It is, but the rest of us are watching and holding you while you go through this. The reason why they're locking them down too is a lot of people in these areas are from different countries. They're immigrants. They have very, very clear memories and experiences of totalitarian regime. So that would be a force for us to help us, a lot of people in Australia, to understand what is going on here and to see it. Although people know it not necessarily just because I've said it. So I'm just in my heart just sending so much love to them.
Right. They came to Australia because of the freedoms, and they want freedom now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. And also another question. Somebody recently heard that Mr. T will not be helping us in Australia.
Be careful. I don't know whether that's true. That's false.
So
he's ordered the White Hats in our military is helping Australia quietly, and they've linked up with the White Hats in your own military. And the White Hats in the Australian military will be getting support from our White Hats in our military. They've already got some help. They will help them through this difficult time. There's a lot going on behind the scenes about Mr. T not helping Australia. That's disinformation.
thank you so much, because I've felt as though we are in the alliance. We're part of the alliance. It's people that aren't out up front. They're not in the public eye that are part of the alliance. We don't know who they are. We don't know what, but I'm sure that they've got all the dirt on everybody. They know exactly. And we're just going through a process of what I call the dark hats hanging themselves.
Yeah, right.
They're just hanging themselves. I don't believe that there's basically any premier in this country that could walk down the street freely anymore. Like they've already done that. They've done it to themselves.
I heard that the mayor of Melbourne, it was either the mayor of Melbourne or the premier of Victoria, was came out of a restaurant or walking in the street, and he was jumped by a crowd and they beat him up and they threw him in a dumpster. Did you hear that? Okay, once again, you have censorship there and you haven't heard that. Yeah, they showed pictures of the guy being thrown in a dump and crawling out. I think let me check who it was. It was it was the mayor of Melbourne.
Oh, the mayor. Yeah. See, that's local government. I'm not sure about that. That's because I'm in a different state. So maybe Melbourneites know all about that. Victorians know about that. I'm sure people, my friends, will let me know. That's pretty exciting. I'm in an area where all of the mayors it's part of New South Wales, but it's an area or like a province, if you want to put it that way. And all the mayors got together and put it to the government for it to open up, because we have no cases and we've kind of opened up a bit. So it's lovely, and won't be for long, but we'll see what happens. So they're starting to listen. There's a lot of pressure from the people on all of them now. So it's quite exciting. I mean, we're really doing really well. We may not be armed, but we're doing what we've got, which is our spirit.
Mm-hmm.
We're a long way from anywhere.
Right.
A long way from anywhere. And
right.
I feel as though people are losing the fear. They're losing the fear and getting into bravery and courageousness, and losing that whole program that they've been trying to put on everybody, and starting to just do a pushback that's in an Aussie way. It's a very different way where we're quiet and strong.
I saw protests between the border of New South Wales and Queensland a week or two ago. What's happening there with the truckers leading the scene?
They're always being held up on the border anyway for all of the papers. Sorry, for all the papers, between. Mm-hmm. So, I'm 45 minutes from the border. Say if I was to drive up there, I can't get across.
What's the sensible reason for the police state? Why do they say you can't cross the border?
Because it's dangerous, because you may spread this disease.
But no one has yet to identify COVID.
We know.
None of the world's scientists have identified it. They have identified influenza A, which is the flu, influenza B, which is another variant of the flu, and that's it. So in fact, there is no such thing as COVID. And all of their justifications for the lockdown are false.
Yep.
So all they're doing is putting people in a police state for no reason, unless they want to.
Yes. Well, they're in the process of, in fact, turning us from a federation, which is we can cross everywhere, go anywhere we like, to individual countries. That's what they think. They want to be the dictators of each individual little country, each state being a country. And it's not going to happen, because one of the things that we all love and adore here is our free travel, our movement, and I don't feel as though it's that long before the courts actually overturn everything, before the courts actually really see it, because there's a lot of cases in court.
Isn't there a case in New South Wales on that right now? I saw a video of court proceedings.
Yeah, they've just had the hearings, the 2 hearings beforehand, getting all of their calendars right and ready. And the big one is going up on the 30th of this month here. There's been a huge public interest, lots of views. So they're actually going to be streaming it online, which is very good. Huge interest. There are different lawyers, firms, law firms actually taking the whole case to get the information that they base all of their orders on for lockdowns, et cetera, et cetera. We also have our Premier in New South Wales being investigated for corruption, which has been a long-term thing. It's starting to come to a point where all of the politicians in New South Wales are pressurising her to come back to the Parliament and start talking, debating, and answering to what her orders and what her behaviour, what all of the things that she has done, all of the actions. So it's quite phenomenal what's going on. There's a lot of pressure. So in the courts for the health stuff, and then also pressure on the political level as well. So,
wow.
Yeah, and it will set a precedent. The other thing that seems to be happening is a lot of people are not worrying so much about all of the fines, because they're not being held up in court. which was a real fear thing hanging over everybody.
Sure. Right. Right.
So there's a great big swell going on from people. So
Okay.
it's, yeah, which is
Yeah.
quite good.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's good. In our country, in the U.S., our judiciary, it depends on the state, but there's a lot of good judges here. There's some bad judges, but most judges are pretty good, and so I've liked that part of it. That they've stood up to this a lot. So.
Well, we're hoping that it happens. It's either going to be where it's revealed to us that our judicial system is also corrupt.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually going to be a reveal of that if it doesn't work out for the people. We'll have to wait and see. It won't stop there. It's going to keep going and keep going. So it's going to be, yeah. Yes.
Well, they hide the real death figures from the program here. Did they do that in Australia too?
Yes.
They hide. Yeah,
yes. It's a lot of digging. I stopped digging a couple of months ago because it's just too heartbreaking. I think it's up to because we've got a small population of 25 million. So it's a little bit different to you where you're 350 million, isn't it? Something like that. So we had 910 passings for the whole original year last year over the disease, and it's now, I think it's matched it with the program. It's matched it. Okay. Yeah, that's my tricky way of saying it. I hope it came across all right. So yeah, that's matched it. Yeah. So it's a slow thing. I have this strange hunch, you know what I mean? That because the military were part of distributing the supply of.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And I'm wondering if there was.
Yeah, they did. I know what you're going to say next.
Thank you, Ted.
They did that. Yes. Let me see how much they did of the percentage. About 30% of the program were placebos.
Thank you.
And let me see how much it is in this country. Same, 30%.
Yeah, I'm so appreciative. It really proves what I'm saying as well. Mm-hmm. I'm really
and some of what the companies did too is that they were implicitly in on it too, because they didn't want to kill everybody off during the first so many months. They wanted to give placebos, not every placebo, but like some placebos, so that people could say, well, I've taken it, I feel fine, no problems, but there's no follow-up as far as like what's in it, what's really in it,
That's true, isn't it?
And I have run into some people in my readings who have gotten placebo, and I tell them they're damn lucky. So
this is it, isn't it? And we haven't seen, it's very, very quiet. Everything's clamped down, and we're not getting, because we've got so much censorship here. I think we discussed it before, like it's so heavy. I don't think a lot of people have realized it's been like this for a long time. Now it's just obvious. Now it's just obvious that, yeah, we're not seeing all of the proof of it. We do know that the actual institutions here aren't reporting it, as in people, the individual has to report it, or the family has to report it, because the institutions aren't, because they've been gagged as well. Yeah. But it's all coming out in the open. So, I mean, if it's out in the open, then the light can shine on it. So this is the process we're going through. Is it like that for you too, Ted? That there's just so much of the garbage is coming up to the surface, and it's being revealed.
Within the next couple of weeks, the Arizona election will be certified. And that'll start the triggers for the other states. Georgia will be next, then Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. All of those were fake elections. And once that happens, then there'll be momentum to get Trump back in. I think he wants to play it that way rather than having the military reinstall him, only because then he doesn't look like a dictator. Because Soros and Antifa and the Democrats are going to claim that he's some sort of dictator if he does that. But I think he'll be able to get around that.
Yeah. Well, would it be possible, I wonder, with the discovery of the systems that were used, the technologies being used, that would be another election? That's what I'm seeing, that it's actually going to go to another election. I
would rather just have him reclaim the election that we had last November, because you got to remember now, a lot of people have gone into the program and they're obedient. And so while they're still alive and they can vote, they could be a problem. So I think it'd be better to look our in our last election in November. So
well, it sounds like we've got quite a little journey ahead of us. Now, the 11/3, do you know the significance of November the 3rd? This year?
It's the day after my birthday. I don't. What is the significance? If you could fill me in, would be
We're
good.
both Scorpios.
Yeah, that's great.
Interesting. Okay. No, well, I mean, it's okay. Don't worry about that one. But it looks like we've got quite a journey ahead of us. A lot of big things are going to happen, aren't they, over the next month or so, that predetermines whatever's going to happen. So what would be the final advice or message that you would have for Australia, New Zealand, rest of the world for the next month, really?
Prepare for, be strong, know that you're being helped. And if you want to call in the galactics, put your hand on your heart and do the hue 3 or 4 times, the hue like that. That's a meditation technique. It'll open up your pineal gland and they'll come in to help you. You can also do the same with the Pleiadians too. The Pleiadians have 2.5 million ships around this planet right now. And they've all been being light energy to the planet to raise our vibrations, so that we're being helped behind the scenes. The negatives are desperate. The program is their last shot. It's the last one. They don't have any. They can't. I mean, they may try to do a fake alien invasion, but people are going to see through that. This is really the last straw that they have. And for a lot of them, like Biden isn't even. Biden, I'm told, was executed last year.
Yeah.
And so the current clone or whatever we have now, he can do anything he wants because he's not even fully human. And the real Biden is off some underground base somewhere. I'm not sure where he is, but Trudeau's the same way. Trudeau's a clone. Same thing. Same thing. And so when you arrest them for crimes against humanity, which version do you get? And how many do you get? You see, because they have technology from the reptilians, and then they're able to clone our bodies. So yes. It raises an interesting point, for example, back in, I think it was January of 2012, when Obama was put in place in his second term. I'm told that they actually brought the real Obama to Camp David in Maryland, where they eliminated him. I was told all the details, what happened. They got rid of him. And then using reptilian technology, they extracted his personality. When he died, his soul went back to the creator, but then they extracted his personality from the real one that was dead and forced it into a clone who was completely controlled. That's why during his second term, from 2012 to 2016, he always looked at a teleprompter. He never gave an impromptu speech because he's actually a higher second density entity, and he couldn't think on his own.
Interesting, because with our Prime Minister, I felt that when he went to Hawaii, everyone's going to know what I mean, that his double is the one that we see now. We do not see him. We do not see the real one.
Let me ask. Why did he go to Hawaii?
He went in the middle of the bushfires when everybody needed him.
I see. Yeah, that's a sign of sheer courage. Yeah. Yeah. Right. He's a clone. The real one is somewhere it's at a deep underground base somewhere. And
White hats have him?
Do
the white hats have the original?
No, they don't. He left before all this stuff was starting hitting the fan. That was when was that? 2 years ago?
Yeah, it is. It all started here 2 years ago, September. The bushfires, yeah. I can't remember when he went over, but whoever returned was not thou. Yeah.
What was his ostensible reason for?
Oh, it was a holiday.
And he left in the middle of while Australia was burning.
Yeah, but it didn't feel that way. It felt like he was whisked away.
Right.
And the other one came in afterwards. It was that opportunity. So
it's very simple to do that. Yeah.
It was simple. And just all the directives that are going on, it actually feels to me that there's positive galactics around our.
In mid-April 1979, President Jimmy Carter took a vacation to Plains, Georgia for about a week, 10 days. And during his vacation time, they eliminated the real one and replaced him with a clone. And in my book, Messages from the Masters, I'll show you. Yeah. I go through pictures of President Carter in my book. This is a book with messages from Albert Einstein, Nostradamus, President Kennedy, on our beautiful, bright future. If anybody there wants one, just send me an email to outofthisworld1150@gmail.com. Or you can go to my website at outofthisworldreadings.com and order it there. But anyway, in the book, for something like 40, 50 years, 60 years, President Carter parted his hair on his left. And after that trip to Georgia in mid-April 1979, he always parted it on the right. It's very interesting. I've got the pictures to prove it too.
Yeah.
And you don't do that switch unless it's been replaced. The other thing too is that he had a lifelong interest in UFOs. And because he saw a UFO when he was governor of Georgia in 1973. And after that trip in 1979 to Georgia, he dropped interest, never was interested in UFOs again. Actually, what he did is after he was elected, he had Alfred, a friend of mine, Alfred Labremont Weber, he made him the head of his UFO Disclosure Commission back in 76, 77. And Alfred, right after that happened, David Rumsfeld and I think it was George Bush Sr. put a contract out to get him eliminated. He found out about it, fled to Mexico City, became a journalist, and then emigrated to Canada, where he's applied for and received political asylum. Been there ever since. So he doesn't come down to the States. He doesn't like it here. Yeah.
I remember Alfred from doing. Was it at the International Court?
Yeah, the International Tribunal. Yeah.
Yes, I remember this. He's been going for quite some time, actually, Alfred. Yeah. And I remember him just talking a lot with Project Camelot. And
right, yeah. He's doing good work, yeah. I'm having a conference, which you're all welcome to participate in. It's called the Galactic Wisdom Conference. It's my 8th annual conference. And if you want to listen to it, it's just $55, and you get the whole conference the whole weekend. Go to www.galacticwisdomconference.com, That's galacticwisdomconference.com. And you'll be able to see David Icke giving a presentation along with Alfred Weber, myself, who else? Elena Denon, famous French UFO contactee. Who else? Oh, we have a lot of people. You'll see and you can watch it as many times as you like as well afterwards. So.
That's fantastic. And I'll get all of those links off you and I can pop them down for everybody down below.
I was going to say just something from all my shows. You can go to my website at outofthisworldradio.net and all my broadcast information is there. I broadcast on Saturdays on BBS Radio and then every other Monday in Vienna, Austria, on Radio Soul International. I broadcast in German, English, and Spanish. So anyway, it keeps me busy. So.
Fantastic. Absolutely. Well, I really thank you so much for your time, your effort. We'll get all the links. We'll pop them down below so you can have access. I'll also be putting my links down below so that you can contact me if you're interested in having readings with me or any of, or just knowing what sort of services I've got for you. And I'll leave my email for everybody down below. And I thank you again. Mwah. Mwah.
Okay, great. So good to see you. So good to see you. And
we'll talk soon.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't want to talk to you for a minute afterwards. So anyway, Thank you again so much for having me on your show.
You.
I really appreciate
it.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.